Hello everyone, today I am going to discuss the types of DC machines. So from this DC machine we learn DC motor and DC generator. DC machine can divide it into two parts. One is separately excited DC machine, another one is self-excited DC machine. Self-excited DC machines also can divide it into three parts. One is series wound DC machine, another one is shunt wound DC machine, and last one is compound wound DC machine. Compound wound DC machines also can divide it into two parts. One is short shunt DC machine, another one is long shunt DC machine. Let I discuss one by one what is separately excited DC machine, what is self-excited DC machine and its parts. Now I will discuss the separately excited DC machine. So what is separately excited DC machines? When in a DC machine the field winding energized by a separated DC source, then we called these DC machines are separately excited DC machine. That means the field winding energized by a separated DC source. So here we can see have this is the separately excited DC generator diagram and this is a separately excited DC motor diagram. From this diagram we can see the field winding energized by a separated DC source, and from the separately excited DC motor diagram we can see the field winding also energized by a separated DC source and armature also supplied by a separated DC source. So that's why we are called this machine is separately excited DC machines. Now I will discuss the self-excited DC machine. So first we will know what is self-excited DC machine. In DC machine, if the current flowing through the field winding is supplied by the machine itself, then this machine we call this is a self-excited DC machine. That means that supply give the field winding is also supplied by the armature of the machine, then we called this machine is self-excited DC machine. Okay. So self-excited DC machine we can divide it into three parts. So first one is series wound DC machines. So let's see what is series wound DC machine. So we can see if the field winding is connected in series with the armature, then this machine we called this is the series wound DC machines. Okay, that means the field winding connected in series with the armature. So we can call this machine is series wound DC machine. So this is a series wound DC generator and this is a series wound DC motor. So from this diagram we can see the field, this field is connected in series with the armature. We can see in this diagram the armature and field both are connected in series each other. Okay, that's why we are called this is a series wound DC generator. Also we can see in the series wound DC motor diagram the field and the armature both are connected in series. So we can call this is a series wound DC machine. Now I will discuss the shunt wound DC machine. So first we will know what is shunt wound DC machines. In DC machine, if the field winding is connected in parallel with the armature, then we called this DC machine is shunt wound DC machine. That means if the field winding is connected in parallel with armature, then we can call this is a shunt wound DC machines. We can see this is a shunt wound DC generator and this is a shunt wound DC motor. From this diagram we can see the field winding is connected in parallel with the armature. In this diagram we can see armature and the shunt field both are connected in parallel. That's why we are called this machine is shunt wound DC machines or shunt wound DC generator. From this diagram we can see field winding and armature also both are connected in parallel. So that's why we are called this DC machine is the shunt wound DC motor. Okay. Now I will discuss the compound DC machines. In DC machine, if the shunt field and series field both are present, then we call this DC machine is compound DC machine. So compound DC machines also can divide it into two parts. So first one is short shunt compound DC machines. So what is short shunt compound DC machines? In DC machine, if the shunt field only connected in parallel with the armature, then we called this machine is short shunt compound DC machines. So short shunt DC machine, that means only the shunt field is connected in parallel with the armature. So here we can see this is a short shunt compound DC generator and this is a short shunt compound DC motor. So in this diagram, DC compound short shunt generator diagram, we can see the shunt field. This is a shunt field and this is series field. This is series field and this is shunt field and this is armature. So we can see only the shunt field is connected parallel with the armature. So that's why we called this is a short shunt compound generator. Similar this diagram we can see this shunt field is connected in parallel with the armature. That's why we called this DC machine is the short shunt compound DC motor. Now I will discuss the second parts of the compound DC machine, that is long shunt compound DC machines. So what is long shunt DC machines? In DC machines, if the field winding is connected in parallel with the both of armature and series field, then we can call this DC machine is long shunt compound DC machines. That means long shunt compound DC machine means the field winding is connected in parallel both of armature and series field. So here we can see this is a long shunt compound DC generator diagram, and this is a long shunt compound DC motor diagram. So from this long shunt compound DC generator diagram, we can see the field winding or shunt field is connected in parallel with both of the series field and armature. So long shunt compound DC machine means the shunt field is connected parallel both of armature and series field. So if the shunt field is connected in parallel both of series field and armature, then we can call this is a long shunt compound DC machine. So this is so in this long shunt compound DC generator diagram, we can see the shunt field is connected parallel both of armature and series field. That's why we called this DC machine is long shunt compound DC generator. And in this diagram we can see also the shunt field is connected in parallel both of series field and armature. That's why we can call this is a long shunt compound DC motor. Thank you.